Good morning and thank you so much for joining us on Africa This Morning. It is the 24th of April 2014. Let's start the bulletin with a look at the top stories.
South Sudan conflict. South Sudan massacre sparks international outcry as UN says it's now a war crime. Fight against malaria. Efforts to fight the disease in Kenya bear fruit.
The international community, including China, have voiced their concern about the situation in South Sudan, where rebels are accused of killing hundreds of civilians in cold blood when they seized the South Sudan oil hub of Bentiu. Foreign Ministry spokesperson King Gang has called for a renewed peace talks initiative after they failed to kick off in Ethiopia.
Rebel gunmen in South Sudan massacred hundreds of civilians in ethnic killings when they captured the oil town of Bentiu in one of the worst reported atrocities in the war-torn nation.
During the past few days, Bentiu was the scene of severe violence, very targeted, deliberate violence that struck individuals of certain identities. And I think that what I've so far seen in the mosque and in other parts of town has really been very, very heart-wrenching. Certainly atrocities have been committed here on a very significant scale.
In the main mosque alone, more than 200 civilians were reportedly killed and over 400 wounded, with the UN mission in the country saying there were also massacres at a church, hospital and an abandoned UN World Food Programme compound. Fighters took to the media urging rival groups to be forced from the town.
The UN mission in South Sudan strongly condemns the killing of civilians in Bentiu Unity State last week. Those killings were done on the basis of ethnic affiliation and nationalities. The UN mission in South Sudan also strongly condemns the use of Bentiu 99 FM radio station to broadcast hate messages directed at certain ethnic groups.
Peacekeepers later rescued over 500 civilians, many of them wounded, from the hospital and other sites, as well as guarding thousands of civilians as they walked to the UN base, where over 12,000 people are now crammed in for shelter. The UN Security Council said that attack may constitute a war crime. The East African IGAD group brokering the talks says the talks have been pushed to April 28th. The conflict has displaced more than 1 million people and thousands have been killed since December. The US has termed the massacre as a betrayal of the people by their leaders and urged President Salva Kiir and rebel leader Riek Machar to denounce them.
At least 4 people, 2 of whom were policemen, were killed yesterday when a car bomb exploded outside a police station in Pangani, Nairobi. According to the Interior Ministry, police were taking the occupants of the car in for questioning in the Pangani neighborhood when it exploded. No group has yet claimed responsibility for the blast, but the nearby Isli suburb has been targeted in several attacks blamed on Al-Qaeda-linked Al-Shabaab rebels. On security matters in Kenya, we are coming for you. That's the message Nairobi police commanders are sending to those holding illegal firearms following the expiry of the ultimatum issued by President Uhuru Kenyatta. The police chiefs have also defended the ongoing security operations, saying they are within the law.
Top security chiefs from Nairobi held a high-level meeting to review the security situation and come up with ideas on how to improve the safety and security of residents. The meeting took place in the wake of what police say is a secure period, with a reduction in crime rates in the county of Nairobi thanks to continued crackdown on criminals.
We have talked, we have said, now that in Nairobi we are recording zero crime. For example, like last night, we didn't record any criminal activities in Nairobi. Besides one incident that occurred this morning at about 5:30 a.m.
Nairobi County Commander Benson Kibwe was categorical that the crackdown will continue despite allegations that officers were violating human rights.
We promise that we will be able to carry out our duties as police officers according to the law and will not be cowed by anybody. And nobody, we won't listen to any noise. I can refer to it as any noise because we are acting according to the law. We will be able to cover all areas. So let us know where those aliens have fled to. We are coming for them.
The security chief sent a strong message to those holding illegal firearms.
That please surrender those firearms because we are coming for those illegal firearms. It will not please anybody. When we come for those illegal firearms, forcefully, somebody might be hurt. I cannot shy off to say somebody might be harmed. So is our plea, according to the president, that amnesty is still on, surrender them.
President Uhuru Kenyatta had issued a 2-week ultimatum to those in possession of illegal arms, failure to which they will meet the full force of the law.
Still in Kenya, despite substantial decline in transmission rates of malaria in the country, at least 28 million are still at risk. The Kenyan government has, however, taken initiatives to address the situation. Statistics released ahead of the World Malaria Day also reveal that global efforts to control and eliminate malaria have saved at least 3.3 million lives in the last 14 years, reducing malaria mortality rates by 42% globally and 49% in Africa.
Development of county profiles that will guide county health authorities on what to invest in is guided by international best practices. 2, provision of effective quality treatment at no cost in all public and faith-based health facilities across the country, and highly subsidized malaria medicines in the private sector through affordable medicines.
Still on health matters in Kenya, a new technology for cervical cancer screening has been introduced in the country. The scanner seeks to provide an accurate, efficient and cost-effective way of identifying women who are at risk of the disease. The move is likely to dramatically reduce incidences of cervical cancer, which kills at least 1,600 women annually in Kenya.
We're here in Kenya to introduce the Laviva Advanced Cervical Scan, which is a non-invasive, immediate result scan of the cervix for women at risk of cervical cancer. It provides result at the point of care, which means the woman knows the result immediately. And if she needs treatment, she may receive treatment immediately. And if she has no disease, she may go home with no worries, unlike the pap smear, which can take several weeks in many instances to give a result.
And to the Horn of Africa, gunmen killed a Somali lawmaker on Tuesday, the second assassination of a member of parliament in Mogadishu a day after blowing up one of his colleagues. The gunmen have vowed to keep killing politicians and disappoint efforts to secure Somalia.
Somalia's Al-Qaeda-linked Shabab said they had assassinated a lawmaker on Tuesday, the second such killing in a series of attacks in the war-ravaged capital of Mogadishu. On Monday, a member of parliament was killed and another wounded in a car bombing also claimed by the extremists who have threatened to assassinate all lawmakers in the internationally backed government.
It is deplorable that 2 parliamentarians were killed in Mogadishu in 2 consecutive days, as the security conference is being held in the capital. The government must closely investigate these vicious assassinations.
The attacks came as the government holds the third and final day of a security conference, hoping to tackle continued attacks by the Shabab.
The security is good for now, and there are ongoing security meetings at the moment, as we are working to improve it still. As I told you, the military operations will continue. A Somali MP was killed today as he was leaving his home. This killing is similar to other killings against Somali officials and civilians.
Recent Shabab attacks have targeted key areas of government or the security forces in an apparent bid to discredit claims by the authorities that they are winning the war against the extremists. African Union troops fighting alongside Somali government forces launched a fresh offensive last month against the Shabab bases.
It's just a simple message to Al-Shabaab. You either give him or we are coming for you.
Although they seized a series of towns, the insurgents are thought to have fled in advance and suffered a few casualties.
From the Horn of Africa to the Middle East, new claims have emerged that President Bashar al-Assad's regime may have launched attacks with an industrial chemical weapon earlier this month. This despite an international agreement to eliminate Syria's chemical arsenal.
A man gasping for his breath seeks help amid reports that chemical weapons have been unleashed in Syria again. The video, which cannot be independently verified by Reuters, appears to show children among the wounded in Idlib province, in a war that has already cost the lives of more than 150,000 people. Swaths of Idlib province are in the hands of various rebel groups, and attacks in rebel-held areas are blamed on President Bashar al-Assad's forces by the opposition. The U.S. says there are indications a toxic chemical, probably chlorine, was used in a rebel-held area in Hama province mid-April, shown here. The incident was reported both by Syrian rebels and the government, with each side blaming the other. If proven, chlorine gas attacks expose a major loophole in an international deal which promised to remove chemical weapons from Syria. It also suggests chemical warfare could persist after the removal operation is over. Syria has vowed to hand over or destroy all of its chemical weapons by the end of the week, but still has roughly 20% of its chemical arsenal.
Still on the impact of the Syrian conflict, around 150 Syrians who escaped the brutality and the death of a war zone are now faced with surviving in utter poverty in a small square in working-class suburbs of Paris in France.
They've travelled thousands of kilometres and across several countries to escape the atrocities in Syria. Now Yaya, a former dental technician, and his family find themselves homeless and destitute in France.
Really, we're tired. For 3 years, you have no money, you move from town to town every day, a new hotel. Every day, you don't know what could happen. You, me, nobody knows what could happen. It has been 3 years, and so far, no solution.
The group of Syrians seeking refuge here has grown in the past few months. Now over 100 people from the Homs region congregate in this park on the outskirts of Paris during the day, before trying to find somewhere to sleep at night. Some local residents like Khadija have come to help with food, clothes and medicine.
We found people here who were starving, tired, ill, young children, pregnant women. Horrific.
The biggest problem now facing these refugees is accommodation. A hotel next to the square houses a few families each night, but many aren't so lucky.
The situation is getting beyond us. For example, at the moment, we have enough money to pay for 3 rooms. We have 100 people to house this evening. We don't have a solution.
Things are set to get better, with calls for a gymnasium to be opened or tents to be put up to help the families. Most have filed asylum requests and they have a good chance of being accepted. Since the beginning of the conflict, France has approved 96% of Syrian asylum requests.
On art in Kenya, a little girl who wooed the audience during this year's National Drama Festival has received support from well-wishers days after asking for help. Emily Nyambura made an exemplary performance during the gala event graced by President Uhuru Kenyatta.
To perform her solo verse before the president last week during Kenya's National Drama Festival, and even to shake his hand, never meant much for 6-year-old Emily Nyambura. After all, she was carrying out her academic duty. Many cheered her because of her eloquence and bravery, but little did they know that behind this strong young girl lies extreme poverty, where a complete meal every day was never guaranteed. Emily started living in poverty since the day she was born, having been born under a lorry in Nairobi streets by her mother, who was a former street girl.
God is really grateful. He has answered my prayers when I needed him most. I was almost giving up, and I wanted to take my children and go back to the street life I was used to.
Her solo verse, which was talking about how her bed rains every night, signified how her parents' house was leaking every single day it rained. But that's the best her mother and her grandmother could give them. But that is past tense now. The young girl who studies in this remote school was in the press appealing for help from Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta. All she wanted was food. And indeed, the president heard the young girl's plea and sent his team to assist.
This is a solution that we have brought. We, first of all, to Emily, the kid brother and a cousin of theirs, we are announcing today that they are going to go to school until university level.
The president's team has offered Emily, her brother and her cousin full scholarship up to university. As if not enough, her family has been relocated to a bigger and a decent house that will be fully furnished, though there are plans to give them a permanent home.
We are also going to train the mother and the grandmother, who, as you know, have not gone to school, and the elder brother of Emily's mother. We are going to take them, the county government is going to assist us take them through a rehabilitation program, and beyond that we are going to ensure they go through school to get some basic skills in running business.
Her mother and her grandmother could not hide their joy, knowing too well how they have struggled in life. In her young age, she has won admirers not only in her village but in the entire country. Now, when the young Emily Nyambura performed before the president during this year's National Drama Festivals, she never knew that she was opening a new page in her life and in that of her poor family until today. Now that goes to justify that no matter where you come from, your dreams are valid. Agnes Gakunga, Ebru Africa News, Juja in Kiambu County.
And finally, now in its 51st year, the World Coal Carrying Championships, which sees men, women and youngsters race in the streets carrying huge sacks of coal on their backs, took place in Yorkshire, North England. The event's popularity is turning out to be a great success in that region.
Carrying coal is a time-honored tradition here in Gawthorpe, England. These are the contestants of the 51st World Coal Carrying Championships, all hauling a 50-kilogram sack of coal up the 1,100-meter course. One competitor admits that the extra weight is quite a burden.
It's heavy. I'd like to confirm, quick scientific test, it's heavy.
So why would they bother? Gawthorpe used to be a coal mining town, and while all the mines are now closed, its tradition lives on in the form of the annual race. And of course, there's a cash prize involved of 750 British pounds, which is about $1,260 US. Claimed by 30-year-old Chris Birkin, who was also crowned champion in 2010. In the women's race, it was Penny Ditchfield who beat 30 fellow competitors to win in a time of 4 minutes and 39 seconds.
To me, guys, again. And that sports story brings us to the end of the Bulletin on Africa this morning. Join us next as we take a look at other conversations taking the lead on the social media platform on our segment on Trend.